Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Menomonee Falls Public Library Board of Trustees monthly board meeting on Wednesday, April 15th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to order. First is public comment period. However, there's nobody here, so we will skip over that and go straight to a presentation by Brittany Larson, who is the Director of Bridges Library System.
Roll call.
Oh yeah. Do we need a roll call?
Sure, we can make introductions.
Okay. I'll make an introduction. I'll be roll call. Nicole Barker, President.
Tom Ewig, Secretary Treasurer.
John Soper. Dave Munoz, Board Member.
Scott Habiger, Michael Dibbitz.
Helen Rohr, Jackie Romer.
All right. Now we'll move on. Sorry, I was trying to get you guys hurry up. Presentation by Brittany Larson, who's the Director of Bridges Library System, and Timothy Dodlinger,
Yes,
County Board Supervisor and Chair of Act 150 Planning Committee, regarding the Act 150 proposed Waukesha County Library Services Plan.
Ooh, that was a sentence.
I know.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. I really appreciate it. And I also want to just thank your time in considering this process, which started back in August. I want to thank your director's time because she's been a part of it. She's been listening. She's been, there's been extra meetings. And so I do want to thank all the directors of Waukesha County as well, because it's been part of their lives since August as well. My plan tonight is just to give you a little sort of high-level summary, some of which may sound familiar, but it leads us sort of to the point that we're at right now with the most recent updates. Can everyone hear me okay? Mm-hmm. Awesome, okay. So the goal of the Waukesha County Library Plan, it's in state statute, and the main purpose is to make sure that we have quality library services across Waukesha County. And as you know, there are municipalities with libraries like yours, and then there are municipalities that don't have libraries. But state statute firmly believes that everyone should have access to a public library, and so because of that, part of the purpose of the plan is to make sure that everyone, including those that live in a municipality without a library, still have access to quality library services. And so that is the purpose of the plan, is to plan for that and make sure that that can take place. Standards are a possibility in state statute, and so Waukesha County historically has had standards. One of the values that standards have is that the Waukesha County libraries are very close together geographically. You can really get to we're very fortunate, right, in that we have great communities and great community libraries, and so there's the ability to go to multiple ones within 10 to 15 minutes, depending upon which direction you point your car. And so the standards are helpful because they help make sure that there's a minimum quality level at each of these libraries, so that there's not one library in one municipality that's taking on the burden of another community's patrons because they tend to flock in one direction because the other library is just not able to meet those needs. So that's sort of the general background and the purpose of the standards. Where we're at right now is that 3 of the standards have been lowered: the public computers, collection size, and the materials expenditure. And just a really brief summary background, there's greater detail in the plan, but the plan is many, many pages, so I'll just sort of summarize. The lowering of the public computer standard, that was in response to recognizing that libraries are still incredibly critical to providing, to bridging that digital divide, to making sure people have access to the internet. It is embedded in our lives, right? However, more people are bringing their own devices now. Now, that's not 100% true, so it is important for public libraries to still have some computers, but more people are bringing their own devices. And so Wi-Fi becomes, and steady Wi-Fi becomes a really important utility for public libraries, but the amount of public computers that it is not as necessary. And so the committee spoke about that and lowered that standard to reflect the current landscape. The collection size standard was also lowered. The collection size standard only looks at physical materials. And so lowering that standard was in response to recognizing that people are buying more electronic items and that there's a sunsetting of collections, specifically the CD audiobook. The last time we saw a trend like that was the good old VHS tapes, you know, leaving our libraries. So that was the background behind the collection size lowering. And then the materials expenditure standard was lowered as well. And that was discussed at length. There were two schools of thought. On the one hand, inflation was considered, right? Keeping a standard where it's at in terms of a standard that is expenditure dollars means that inflation goes up. Even if you keep it where it is, it's still, its buying power is less. However, there was discussion also about flexibility in libraries' budgets. And so in the end, the standard was lowered back to not where it's at in its current plan, but where it went the previous plan. And so that standard was established in 2017 for the 2017 to 2021 plan. And so I think a good thing to think about with that standard is just that it's been rewound not to the standard that was established 5 years ago or in 2022, but back to what was established in 2017. And so if you think about the buying power of where that standard will be at the end of this next plan's 5-year plan, right? So we're going to go a 5-year plan out, so it'll end in 2031. So that's about a 15-year gap between when the standard was established, or what the standard has been rewound to, and where it will end. And so I think a helpful thing to think about with that standard is it's not just how many dollars it was decreased dollar for dollar, but what is the buying power of that dollar from when it was established in 2017 to the end of the plan in 2031. We have about a 15-year gap there. And so the buying power of that standard is proportionately, you know, it's reduced, but then the buying power is separated even further just because of inflation. So that's sort of something to think about with that standard. So that was discussed in the committee as well, the concept of inflation and the concept of also the need for flexibility. And so the committee decided to reduce that standard to allow for that. The FTE standard was originally lowered, and then it went before all the library boards, and there were, you know, points of concern that library boards had, but thematically, the FTE standard was by far the most common theme of concern amongst the library boards that voted no. And so the committee was very receptive to hearing that concern. They heard that concern from many of the library boards. And so when the committee came back to discuss the feedback, they did reinstate the FTE level to the where it's currently at in response to that concern that they heard from, you know, sort of across the board. So again, thank you for the feedback that all the library boards provided, including yours, because the committee was, you know, certainly wanting to hear what library boards had to say. So that's sort of a snapshot of the purpose of the plan, why the standards exist, where we're currently at with the current proposed plan. And Tim, do you have anything else to add? Or I don't know if anyone wants to ask me any questions at this point.
Yeah, I have a general question.
Yeah.
So the minimum standards were lowered, less public computers, lower collection size,
Mm-hmm.
and the public expenditure is less.
The materials expenditure, yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
And the FTE was maintained.
Yeah, so the big change from what you saw last time is that before the FTE was also lowered,
Correct.
but now that's been reinstated based on the feedback that they received, the committee.
Okay.
So
Did any money put into that?
I'm sorry,
Any money from the county thrown into that?
Nope, I mean,
So there's no money, it's just talk.
well, I guess, what do you mean by money?
Money is money. Like, is there more money coming based on anything that's being changed here
The
from the county?
No, there's no additional funds that come from the county in response to the standards.
So the standards and everything lowered. FT was increased from what was previously said, and there's no new money from the county.
Correction.
Okay,
The
just
FT
making that clear.
The FTE standard was restored. When you say previously said, I want to make sure we're differentiating between the previous plan, the one that's in effect currently from 2022 through 2027, versus the plan that was presented to you, I believe it would have been 2 meetings ago at this point, for your approval. At that time, the plan had reduced the FTE from the previous plan. The proposed plan had reduced the FTE count. The committee, as Brittany pointed out, met, heard the comments from the library boards, and restored that standard, that specific one, to the level it's currently at.
Yeah, no,
right?
I believe I understand
Okay,
that
all
from
right.
previous meetings and to this. I just wanted to clarify, it more has to do with I understand public money from the school's perspective.
Sure.
But I'm very much a neophyte when it comes to funding from the library perspective. I just wanted to know if there was any more money from the county as a result of all of this.
Indirectly, there may be. The county itself provides no funding for libraries.
I'm aware of
Okay. However, what the county is responsible for, which is part of the plan but not part of what the library boards vote on, is the collection and distribution formula for the county library tax. That county library tax is assessed on those communities that don't have libraries. So basically, they're constituents who, by law, we are required to provide services to, help provide funding to offset the cost of providing that service to those communities. Again, separate from the standards, not something that this body has a voice in currently, but the distribution formula for those funds that are collected has been altered, has been proposed to be altered. It still has to be approved by the county board, ideally as part of the plan. Under that revised distribution standard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Menomonee Falls will be receiving more funding.
I don't think
No?
Menomonee Falls, it was
Negligible,
sort of
okay.
flat.
All right,
Yeah.
That-
thank you.
Menomonee Falls doesn't receive a lot of county funding.
Because of, yes.
So,
Not being
I would
under,
say
right.
that the change in the formula is not going to be noticed by you. Not in a positive way, not in a negative way,
Yeah.
you're sort of neutral.
I'm familiar with the formula. I'm sorry, John,
No,
and then
you
you
go.
go ahead. I'm familiar with the formula. So the reason I asked about the county money is I wanted to be clear if there was more. And I understand how formulas work, at least from the school district's perspective.
Yeah.
That, they're developing essentially how people are going to be paying tax, if you will, and that's a roundabout way for the county to be involved in that. So, I get the nuance of it. So, no new money from the county.
Not unless the formula in its change did anything, and I can't give you a number, but I'm fairly certain
That's
it was
fair.
almost flat. So the answer I would say is no.
That's fair. Thank you. Sorry, John.
So what was the percentage decrease in the funding amount, in the materials expenditure amount?
Oh, that's a good.
About $10,000.
No, the percentage
Oh, the
of decrease.
I don't know if I have the percentage off the top of my head.
You might have that from
I only have the new number.
Yeah, I don't think I have the percentage. It's,
Do you have the numbers?
let me,
I distributed a sheet to hand out. at the
Yeah, you
last
did, but I don't
meeting.
have it. That's why I'm asking. I don't have the numbers.
I can tell you that Menomonee Falls The 2027 would be $5.24 per capita for Menomonee Falls specifically. And that is the number that I have.
So about 5%.
But that's not exactly correct either, because it's.
How many other
$6
county
for the
organizations,
first
how many
So if you add that
counties
together, it
require
becomes
an
6,024.
expenditure for materials?
I'm sorry, say that
How
again?
many counties in the state of Wisconsin require this per capita expenditure out of the?
I believe 2.
So we're one of 2 counties in the entire state that feel that requiring an expenditure amount makes our libraries better than the rest of them in the state?
It is not common to have standards, period, in the state of Wisconsin, although it is written into state statute and allowed. I think maybe an alternate way of looking at it is we are one of 2 counties that
Require the localities to spend a certain amount of money on its books.
to a
One of 2. What's the other one?
Dane County. Yeah, so
Really?
looking, and,
I guessed that one off the top.
yeah. And the ordinance and the standards, again, with the Waukesha County libraries being so close together and having such large municipalities, it really does allow for a maintenance of quality library services so that you don't have people
So
drifting.
hold on 1 second, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Because that's not library services. This is physical materials. So I want to make sure we are very clear what we're talking about here. Because you're telling us, and you're telling the taxpayers of Menomonee Falls, that we have to hit a minimum number that we struggle to hit because of how good our librarians are and how fiscally responsible the library is. So you're telling us we have to spend an X amount of money that we don't necessarily need to spend because we're good at it, and we have to have so many, so you're telling us all this money we have to spend and we have to go to the taxpayers to ask for it. That is not, first of all, library services, this is materials only. Minimum to exempt is materials, whether it's virtual or physical materials, okay? So we're not talking about library services right now. And the services are that we provide minus, we're just talking about this minimum to exempt standard that doesn't exist anywhere other than Dane County and us. And it's a hard pill to swallow to try and figure out how to explain this to the taxpayers,
Especially
that
when
we're
we
gonna
just
ask
got
for more money.
$300,000 cut from our budget for this.
We had our
year.
budget cut and we had to do certain things, but yet we still have to spend $110,000 on materials, and we're trying to figure out ways to do it. So explain to the taxpayers why they should do that.
I think my first comment, and
She's not the, first of all, you're not the creator of this, so that, I
Okay.
want
Yeah.
to make sure we ask, it's not you. I get it. You're delivering the message. You're the one on the committee that did this.
Yes.
So,
So actually,
but-
no,
but I would like to.
I would actually like to hear from Tim on this and not from the Bridges director. I'd like to hear from the person on the board.
Sure.
Why, explain this to the taxpayers of Menomonee Falls, please.
Let me start by saying that I am here wearing at least 5 different hats, and it's not because they forgot to give me my medications this morning. One of those is as a Menomonee Falls taxpayer. One of them is as a passionate library patron. Obviously, I've got the chairman of the committee hat to wear. Yes, I'm a county supervisor representing the west half of Menomonee Falls in the village of Lannon. And I've also served on the county finance committee for many years. So I have seen the issues, I've experienced them on both sides from multiple directions. Believe me, I'm well aware of the $300,000 budget cut. The first thing I heard from my daughter when she was home from college and came into the library was, I got kicked out an hour early because you folks had to cut the hours we were open in order to accommodate that. So believe me, I feel the pain everywhere. The question you ask is a valid one. What do we do? What do we tell the taxpayers? And it really boils down to, you folks have three options tonight, okay? Option one is to do nothing. Realistically, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to vote up or down. If you vote up, and that's what I'm encouraging you to do, then we take the standards that we have reduced, okay? Remember, these standards have been in place for over 20 years. 25? Over 20.
Yeah.
And these standards govern all of the libraries in the county, not just Menomonee Falls. There are 16, okay? The purpose of the standards, as originally implemented, was to simply say, okay, guys, let's make sure we're all playing by the same rules. So that if I'm purporting to run a library, I'm running it according to some structure that ensures that I'm not taking advantage of, or yes, my community, isn't taking advantage of library services being provided elsewhere, but rather that I'm going along for the ride. One of those standards is the FTE minimums. That's the biggest cost driver, of course, for most of the libraries. One of those standards is the number of materials I have, which directly relates, of course, to the materials expenditure. So the choice as it's faced here is you can say, yes, and this library is in a unique position, this board is, because I believe that the way this board votes is likely how the final vote will appear with all of the other library boards. In other words, if Menomonee Falls agrees to it, chances are the plan will be implemented as proposed. If the Falls does not, chances are it will fail. If it fails, the most likely outcome is that the county board will adopt the portions of the plan that exclude these specific standards, but one of those is a continuation of the standards as they're defined in the currently operating plan, which means we won't see a reduction in the number of computers, we won't see a reduction in the materials requirements, we won't see a reduction in the materials expenditure. To be real blunt about it, that strikes me as cutting off my nose to spite my face. Yes, we can send a message. Yes, we can deal with the taxpayers. But the reality is, if we want to see any savings, this right now is the sole path.
But there is no savings, I'm sorry. Doing the numbers, there's no savings.
Explain the
I'm
savings.
still throwing out just as many books as I'm buying because I have a full library. We're throwing out as, well, not quite, it's a little bit. But we don't have enough room to put all of the books that we're forced to purchase at that amount to put in the library. And we have a very robust collection, thank you to what our library staff team does. But what you're saying is you're requiring us to spend a certain amount of money when no other library system in the entire state of Wisconsin
No other
has it
library
except for
system, but
Maine.
15 other libraries in Waukesha County are required to.
Wisconsin, we are the only one of two, you stated that sets a standard. My recommendation to your committee was to at least lower that significantly so that we're able to maintain services to our community, because when you set that bar that high, then there's only one place to cut.
And believe me, we
There's only one,
advocated
and
for it.
that's why your daughter felt that pain, because there was only one place we could cut.
Believe me,
One.
I understand. I understand.
And that's gonna continue to happen when you put the bar up that high, unless we go to the taxpayer and say, guess what? The Waukesha County Board wants us to get more taxes from you to pay for more materials. in a library that already has a very robust system in place and could keep a very robust collection in place. But it's out of our hands. You've taken the flexibility out of our budget with the way of keeping it at, because you're lowering things, but the things that you're lowering aren't that significant. I mean, the FTE, we weren't gonna cut FTE because that's the services that we love to provide. It's just, now we have no choice because, well, you also have to do that with a growing population. Now our expenditures are gonna have to increase as the population of our community increases. And I don't know if we've necessarily seen the tax returns on that, and I don't know how that, with the funding formulas and all that. But that's the concern, and so.
Has anyone re-looked at the funding formulas to see if there's a better way?
The committee spent hours looking at them, hours and hours over multiple
So
meetings.
to add to that question, how did we get to the, and again, this is me trying to, again, explain this to the taxpayers. How did we get to the number that we're at? And how do smaller libraries feel in their community? How do they explain that we have to spend X amount? And are they struggling to hit that number, or are they exceeding it exponentially? Because it doesn't
The
matter. A
answer is,
minimum
it
is
depends.
there in case places are having trouble keeping up with their services and what, not their services, in this sense, it's their materials. And so the minimum exists in order to make sure that there's a standard in place from a library's point of view, as to what you guys were saying, that there's a standard in place for libraries within Waukesha County. So are we not meeting that standard because we are struggling in order to hit the number that you're telling us we minimally have to hit? Are we as a library struggling because we are trying to get to that line? Is that what is being explained to us here, though? Because we're sitting here going, this minimum is insane from a number standpoint. We could provide better services potentially at a lower rate because now we have more money for programs. Now we have more money for this, that, and the other thing within our budget. I don't understand how other libraries aren't discussing this and going, guys, our budget, we need to be able to spread our dollars around. And now it feels like we're failing as a library because we're not able to hit your minimum because it's so lofty. And yes, we're going back to the 2017 numbers, but that's only a savings of $10,000. And that's not doing much for our bottom line in the first place. So that's question number one. And then question number two is, are you telling me then that every other county in the state of Wisconsin, there are libraries in those counties that are taking advantage of that county and those taxpayers, and they should be implementing these standards rather than us saying, guys, these standards are a little more antiquated and our libraries are performing incredibly well, and we don't necessarily need a minimum for them to get an exemption on a materials level because they are. Those are my two, I can't get past them.
Could I jump in, if you don't mind? I think this conversation is really, really important, and it's a great thing to have, but I do want to be respectful of the fact that you do have another meeting to go to. I think the philosophical discussion about the standards in general, having those standards in place, should there be standards for libraries within counties, is an important one to have. But I do want to kind of pivot back to what's on the table for us tonight. Is the Menomonee Falls Library Board going to approve the proposed standards as presented by the Act 150 committee? To the point about FTE, the committee heard our concerns about the reduction of staffing required, and they did reinstate that. To me, that was a positive. Materials expenditures, is it as low as this board would like and as low as it could possibly best be in terms of our flexibility with the budget? Probably not. However, having some standard of materials expenditures is important and does have implications for the county formula in terms of how much money we're receiving for reimbursement for library services, so that we are not net borrowers and that we're able to provide the materials that the patrons want, which are largely new materials, to our patrons without having to get materials from other libraries, from Brookfield, from Sussex. So there is something to say about having a hearty materials expenditures budget. Is it as low as this board would like? Maybe not, but to Tim's point, if we don't approve this tonight, and by we I mean the library board, we go back to having to spend $10,000 more, and actually more than that, with the population changes. So we're gonna be in a worse place than we were if we were to understand that this is a step, right? This is a stepping stone in the right direction. It may not be where we'd like it to be, but it's definitely an improvement. That gives us $10,000 of flexibility that we didn't have before.
I have a question. Well, one, I do want to say that I do think we should have standards. I mean, I do believe that. I don't think we're trying to say that there shouldn't be standards. I do believe there should be standards. How often would the standards be looked at? Would they be looked at periodically, so that they don't go 25 years again without being looked at?
Oh, they're looked at.
Yes, every 5 years. And
Okay.
so what that means is, when they go into effect in or when the plan, if it gets proposed and moved forward, goes into effect 2027, by the year 2030, which is the last year of the plan, that's when that process starts again. So it has 4 years, and then in that 5th year, the process of evaluating it looks again for implementation that following year. And I really am, sympathetic. There's nothing I want more than libraries to have the resources that they need so that they can serve their population. I would say that materials expenditure very much is a library service. Your collection is really, if you have to strip away what a library does, and the library does so many things, and your library does so many things. It is an impressive library. But if you think back to the origins of a public library, it having available a variety of items for people to access that information, that collection is really the core of what the library's purpose is in it. And so while I would hesitate to call it the collection the most important thing a library has, I don't know, maybe I'll say that. The collection is, the resources that you make available really is important. And you brought up a good point, Jackie, about the ability for a library to offer a collection that meets the needs of its patrons means that across the county, if all libraries are doing that, then they're not pulling from each other. You're being sort of as self-sufficient as you can be. Now, of course, you're part of the library system and you should be sharing with each other, and that's important and good. But having that robust collection does that. The smaller the collection, the more then you're relying on other libraries to support what you and your community are doing. And so that's part of it to think of. And
I guess I would say we have a very robust collection. We have over 180,000 for one of the bigger libraries in the system.
Yeah.
So we're very robust there.
yeah,
No one's against the minimums. We
Yeah.
all think there should be. We
Yeah.
think the expenditure amount just makes that impossible for us to have flexibility in what we do as a board. The county is basically more or less dictating what we can and can't spend our money on, because there are expenses that we have to meet. We have to do electricity, we have to do cleaning, we have to do building maintenance, we have to do certain things. So the only places where we have flexibility, we're not allowed to have that flexibility. That was our only argument. I don't like being told that if I vote against it, I'm cutting off the end of my nose to spite my face. I don't appreciate that, but I understand the need for minimums, and I don't necessarily personally think we have much of a choice in the matter, which I think is really part of the whole disgruntlement, is we really don't see ourselves having much of a choice in the matter, so.
I would like to first of all apologize for using that expression. I'm sorry. However, to Mr. Hewitt's questions, we the committee, attempted to lower this particular standard even further. It was a very difficult discussion. Very few in the committee were tolerant of any reduction. And in fact, once the plan as it stands with regard to that standard went out to the library boards, there were several boards that asked for it to be re-raised back to its current level. So it's not the county dictating these standards, it's your fellow libraries and the boards thereof who are asking for these numbers.
But
So
you're giving
can
us
I
stuff-
understand from their perspective, and sorry, John, and Nicole, can you help me to get a rationale from their perspective why they want it up? Because, you know, and from what both of you are saying, and again, it's not saying that there shouldn't be a standard, but from, you know, from an excellence of a library standpoint, right? A minimum is just that. It's not necessarily, you know, what you should be spending. We're saying you gotta at least do the basics. And what we're getting at is, for us, the minimum to exempt number in our basics and our above, you know, above standard programming and what our library is able to offer, we're not even able to hit what you deem as being a minimum. And that's, I think, the big problem as well, is that we're doing all of this, and now we're having to play fun games on getting to this minimum to exempt standard, and we're still providing all of this other stuff, and we wouldn't need to. So the word minimum in there is, again, that it's a hard circle to square. The other, I'm just,
I guess that's where I'm at too. I mean, I can understand other libraries, if they want to spend more, but
Right.
for like libraries like us with our size, when we're literally having to just buy things that we don't even think people will want to use just to hit that minimum, I mean, that's literally what we're doing every year.
and that's why we're having this discussion in the first place.
Well, and I in no way
Yes,
want
that is
to
true.
get into a collection development discussion because that is not my place. I think the one thing that I will add is that materials expenditure minimum does allow for electronic purchasing. It does count to that.
Oh, we
And-
know, we've
Okay,
been in,
okay.
we've had these
I guess
discussions.
I only want to mention that because if the concern is that there's money being spent, I know that's not the whole concern, or not even the biggest part of the concern, but in terms of meeting your citizens' needs, and we know that there's an endless black hole of need for electronic audiobooks and ebooks, that if I can at least address that smaller portion of the concern, that is a way of not using the space capacity issues you're talking about. It's identifying what we know to be a need in every community that is not being met, even though the wait time is only 40 days instead of the state average 60. That's at least, again, I'm not saying it's addressing even the highest portion of your concern, but that it does really meet the needs of the community. And you're right, you have a big community. They also circulate, they also check out a lot of materials.
Brittany,
so.
too, though, it's like, so if I wanted to staff my library so that it's safe here after 8 o'clock at night, so that I have appropriate staffing here so it can stay open until 9 o'clock for your daughter, I don't have the flexibility in my budget to do that. There's no flexibility to do that, to provide service that the community would like to have. And so that's the whole concern about, well, why are we putting the numbers so far up here? What is everybody afraid is gonna happen? But now I don't have the flexibility to provide the programming, the additional services after certain hours, or even open an extra day. And so, I mean, and that's why you raised the FTE, which didn't bother me one way or the other, because there's a certain level of FTE you have to do in order to provide this level of service. It just restricts us from being able to maintain certain types of services as opposed to a robot. That's the frustration we had. We're sorry that the rest of the boards didn't see that aspect of it, but that's their board, I guess, so.
I just have two questions, and it's really for Jackie. Do we need to make this decision tonight, or can we table it?
I believe it does need to be made tonight so that the process can continue.
I'm
We're on a
just-
tight
No,
deadline. I
That's a
believe.
valid question. The
Go ahead.
The tax portion of the plan, the non-standards portion, needs to get through the county board in time for inclusion in this year's budget cycle.
Got it.
If we want to see the advantage. That really needs to happen at the May meeting. So if the standards are rejected or delayed, the plan absent the standards will move forward to the board for their consideration. Okay?
So,
Um,
we need to vote tonight. That's what I'm,
I think that would be in the best interests of the committee, the Act 150 committee, the county board, et cetera, so that there can be an understanding of what is next for that.
because I think with all the questions and responses, I do appreciate you both being here, that I've learned a lot, and that was kind of my point, because I had pre-read everything, but this isn't my area of expertise. That being said, I mean, there's complex formulas, and none of that is really dollar cents out in here in a way that, anyway, my only ask for not an abstention for a delay or a table was just to gain understanding and a deeper understanding. So we have to vote tonight, I get it. My last question, and this is directly for Jackie, do you recommend this being approved?
I do. I do recommend that. I'm very grateful to the committee that they reinstated the FTE. That was my biggest concern, and I think I can say that was the board's biggest concern when it was voted on, was the reduction in FTE, because it's already very difficult to provide the services that we're providing with our staffing level, and having that reduced even further would allow people to believe that, oh, that means that we can function on less staff, when that's not actually what that number means. So having that as a security, so that we know, yes, this is a good amount of FTE, we can't reduce it by multiple more, is good. I understand completely what your feelings are about the collection expenditures. As I've shared previously, in previous libraries where I've been a director, when we need to do a building project, or when we don't get the increase that we're expecting, we would pull from materials expenditures. However, I think for the good of the county services plan, I would recommend that you would vote to pass this, because there is a positive change for the better with the reduction. Is it where we want it to be? No. Is that something that can be discussed in 5 years? Yes. Will this $10,000 deduction help us? Immensely. We can do a lot with $10,000. And depending on what our budget allocation is next year from the village, that can make and break employees working here or not, having the amount of staff that we need. $10,000 is easily one of our pages.
Yeah, I'll vote yes, based on your recommendation, but all that I ask is that in a future agenda item, it doesn't have to be May, it could be June, that there be some, just a deeper dive into the accounting, like the specifics, the formulas. You know, I just want to know, like, more. So that, I mean, I think I have a pretty good cursory understanding of, just based on this discussion, the reading of all this, but the collection expenditure requirements, I get the FTE, it's more about the minimum and the connection to the formula. You know, I'll vote yes. I'm just looking for whatever you could have available.
I think that's a great idea.
Whatever you could have available from an educational standpoint. You know, I'm not telling you to write a dissertation, I'm sure it's all out there. You know, I work for the government too, and, you know.
We'll just have Brittany come back. It's fine.
That's what I was gonna actually ask, would
Yeah.
you be willing to come back and explain?
I think at
all
a
of this
committee,
to
maybe a
us?
finance committee meeting, that would be awesome, and all could be invited.
Yeah.
Would,
And
can
yeah,
I
it's gonna-
ask for a second piece of that as well? Is I'd like to know from libraries of our size in the state of Wisconsin, our materials expenditures versus others.
I can get you that
I'd
information.
love to know libraries of our size
Yeah.
in the state of Wisconsin,
Yep.
our expenditures just on materials versus other libraries. Just again, to add to that component of, again, you know, where do we fit in with the rest of Wisconsin, even with the minimums to exempt?
Yeah.
How does that all factor in? Just to add to that education piece that David was talking about.
Yep.
It's
but-
a complex piece, and just from an education, like, it doesn't have to be in May,
Yeah.
but something to give a lot more depth into something that is, it's clearly a complex formula. You know, like the state funding formula for schools. There's things that I know about it because I've been doing it for 27 years. And I could talk about it ad nauseum for a half hour and you'd be lost, but I'd be telling you 100% truth. So I'm just looking for that from the funding of public libraries.
So you're talking about the collection and distribution formula when you're talking about the, that's good. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
If I may just interrupt before you vote, I have to thank Brittany tremendously. Her expertise, her wisdom, her assistance throughout this project has been invaluable. We would not be where we're at without her efforts. We, Bridges, owe her a tremendous debt of gratitude. I owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude for making it through this process. And if I may be so bold, she is already equipped to provide that sort of education because she's provided it to the Act 150 committee, including those of us who were coming in, frankly, completely clueless about the ways some of these standards, formulas, and whatnot worked. My caution is you may not be able to get it all done in one meeting. So I encourage you to follow up, and I too would like to know where we fall. As I said, I'm a Menomonee Falls taxpayer. I wish this board had the additional flexibility. I really do. That's one of the reasons why we lowered the FTE in the initial plan, is by bringing everything down. The idea was that we would give individual boards more flexibility. Obviously, we were wrong about that. We heard it, we adjusted. And I'm going to leave you with one last thought, if I may. When I started this process with the committee, I knew going into it, it was going to be challenging because all of us in the county, every municipality, the county itself, we're all faced with the same funding issues. People would say, well, yes, let's go ahead and raise taxes to do more, but we can't. None of us can because of state statute, okay? I don't have to tell you that. This group knows it better than any other library in the county because you've already lived it. So going into it, I knew we weren't going to make everyone happy. That was not possible. So my goal in exchange was to make everyone a little unhappy, share the pain. I think we've accomplished that. So I thank you very much for your time, your consideration. Again, I'm sorry for my expression before. please don't hold that against the committee. It's yours truly.
Hold it against you.
Thank you. And so, again, thank you for your consideration. I really appreciate it.
I did have a question. On the materials minimum, so if you look at all the libraries, how close are the other libraries to spending at the minimum? Is everyone spending at minimum or some way
That's a
over
good
minimum?
question.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
That's a good question. I would say, and I don't have that chart with me, but in my memory, I wonder if I could look it up super quick. Many of the libraries exceed the materials expenditure minimum by quite a bit. If I can think off the top of my head, there were maybe a couple that were close, but not a lot of them. That's my anecdotal memory.
I do think that that depends on the allocation from
I might have
the
to.
municipality, because some of the ones that are similar size to us get more money from their municipality. They also get more money because of the true non-residents. Where we are located in the county, we get less true non-residents. So those other places will get, where we get, was it around 40,000? There's other libraries that get 240,000 because they have more true non-residents.
Your
So-
question is more specific. Materials expenditures,
Yes.
are they exceeding that?
But they can spend more because they have more to spend.
Yeah, that's what Which is like, do they have a building this size? Do they have, I mean, so there's a lot of factors that go into it.
There are, and that does make, coming up with a county plan a challenge, because there are libraries that have very unique circumstances. There are some libraries with big buildings, but have had very traumatic budget impacts. And then there are small libraries that have a really active friends group. And then there are some libraries that have really active TNR populations. And so there are lots of variables that go into libraries. I was able to look this up to answer your question, sir. And I'm just looking down the line. I would say that based on the most recent numbers, most libraries are, materials expenditures actuals are per capita a good, I don't know how to say it other than a decent distance away from what they're surpassing their minimum. There are 2 libraries, 3, that are close.
Can-
All surpass
Since
it.
you got that up, could you, just in, again, a precursory look, the 3 libraries that are right at it versus the libraries that are exceeding it, what are the sizes? In other words, like, is it Waukesha, Brookfield, and Menomonee Falls that are meeting it, and Merton is not, or?
No, it's, your.
I'm just
lar-
curious.
Yeah, I would categorize you as a large library. Then there's a medium-sized library, and
Could we use that data to analyze at some point?
Yeah, that would be, I don't, you don't need to analyze it right now, I'm
Okay.
sorry,
You
Yeah.
could send it to Jackie.
I got
so
down a
that she
rabbit
can
hole.
get it to us.
yeah.
Let's call the question.
Yeah, let's do
Vote,
Let's.
if that's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have
Okay.
another option if anyone wants to discuss anything. All right, so let's move on to discuss and possible approval of the Waukesha County Act 150 Library Planning Committee's requested endorsement of the proposed Waukesha County Library Services Plan amended minimum to exempt and quality assurance standards. I need a
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All right, any,
No. No discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, teasing.
all right. All in favor of approving the endorsement of Waukesha County Act 150 Library Planning Committee's Waukesha County Library Services Plan as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed.
No, I meant aye, yeah, I didn't say it, but.
Oh.
I didn't see it, I didn't see your face move.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you all.
You're
It,
welcome.
it has not gone without notice that that is a reluctant aye. And let me just echo, I share your concerns, okay? Like I said, I'm wearing multiple hats here. One of them is as a patron of this library, and I am equally as frustrated. But nevertheless, I also have to wear the county hat, and I thank you again for
Well,
your time and
and
consideration.
speaking from myself, I want you both to know that my frustration is absolutely not with you. You guys just happen to be the representatives
Understood.
that are here. It just, I appreciate that you both were able to come and again, understand that the frustration is definitely not with either of you. You both did a wonderful job explaining. Thank you so much. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, no, it is good to see you again. I was like, trustee event, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I don't want to be inauthentic though and say that just because I didn't vote on the committee, I do support the standard. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm hiding behind a shield and being like, I'm just, but I recognize that it's not just as simple as saying more books equals good. And I do understand that complexity, and we have documented concerns, conversations that have happened in committee, like how we struggled on certain things, so that the next time the committee meets in 2030, it's sort of a launching off point for like continued robust discussion. So, as you said, we're moving in a direction that is positive towards flexibility, and I know those conversations will continue.
I think one recommendation I would have is maybe to invite more of the library board members to be participants in the committee.
Yeah, so the committee size was 13, which is about as big as you want a committee before it starts to get impossible to get everyone in the room. But I do think it's, so we had someone from the Menomonee Falls
Village board, yeah.
Village Board.
But she also was.
She was on the library board,
Correct.
yeah. And so, hopefully that representation was helpful. And, I think the next time the committee's up, we're always trying to make sure we have representation. There were some citizens on the board. There were library board members. There were library directors. So it was a mix to try to really get, the municipal representatives really trying to make sure we were hearing different voices. So I do understand that representation is very important. So.
All right.
Thank you both
Thank
very
you
much
both.
for coming
Thank you.
tonight. We appreciate it.
All right, so we can move on to the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda will be approved in one motion unless any board member requests that an item be removed for individual discussion. That item can be considered at an appropriate time during the board's regular order of business or under new business. I need a motion to approve the
Motion to
minutes.
approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion second. Discussion?
I just need to abstain from A because I wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay, should we pull that one out?
I wasn't there, I can't vote on it.
Okay.
So we can pull it out and I'll just abstain.
Either one.
Yeah.
All right.
I can vote on the
Pull
dollars.
up the-
Yeah.
I just wasn't at the meeting,
Yeah.
so I can't vote on it.
Right.
Okay.
So can we just pull
Pull
it
it
out
out.
and vote
It
it
goes-
separately,
It
right?
goes at the end of the consent agenda. We vote on the consent and then we do this right after.
Okay.
Is there, so our materials expenditure for this month was around $11,000. That seemed a little bit lower than normal.
It fluctuates depending on the time of the year. It totally depends on the publishing industry, time of
But
year.
is it a little lower than usual? I thought it was. To me, it appeared to be a little bit lower than usual.
Yes, likely it was. We were ordering less during some staffing transition, so yeah, you're correct on that.
It could also be when the bills were actually paid,
Yeah.
because it could have been paid on April 1st or 2nd.
Gotcha. Sure. And then the contract of custodial services, is that an annual or is that monthly, the 5,863?
It's 2 months.
Yes, that's two months.
It's 2 months, and then the annual contract, very first line, the very first contract line? Oh, I'm sorry, it's the fourth one. Annual contract 4/8 through 4/7/27, what is that annual contract?
That is, okay, so that's our automatic door contract.
All right, cool, thanks. Thanks.
Thank you for asking me that. I was curious on that one too. Because it just said annual contract.
It's for the whole year, so I'm up for that.
All right.
Week vote.
All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Let's do the minutes.
All right, and then I need a
Minutes.
motion to approve the minutes from the March regular board
I'll
meeting.
move, so move.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? I know you're abstaining.
Yep, I'll be abstaining.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from the March regular board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed with one
Abstention.
abstain.
Sorry, thank you.
You're welcome. For the committee reports, policy committee, we did not meet in the last month other than right before the last board meeting, which we're voting on that tonight. Otherwise, that's it. So then we'll go to special projects, fundraising and outreach committee.
Okay, got some organized data for you here. Jackie has done a boisterous, large job of working with a lot of companies. The number of companies we have in our database is 131. Of those, 10 have declined, which is actually a good thing because we can take them off the list. So we like it when we hear from them. We've had 6 that said yes. Not much change from the last time in that we're looking still, okay, nailing down what exactly we're doing. We're doing it. Okay, what's it going to be? We're working through that. 41 we have not contacted yet. 15 we kind of put on the back burner, so these are down the road, which leaves 59 that we haven't contacted. And to give you a sense of really what Jackie's been leading, of those 59, 20 of them we've contacted once. That could be an email, voicemail, something in that regard. 23, we've had 2 touch points with them. 7, we've had 3 touch points. 6, we've had 4 touch points, and 1 has been set. So that is kind of the activity where we're kind of going back, and some of the going back and forth is who's the right contact. You get the contact, you leave a message, you're waiting to get back and forth. So that's what we are kind of working through.
And these are just sort of trying to just make a relationship, no ask, just hey.
Well,
here
one
we
is
are.
just who's the contact? Can we present you and
Good.
let's walk through with it. So
Great idea.
I did take the step of just hand delivered some things this week. They said you're the contact and we're not getting back. So here you go. The big sponsor we had that donated the $45,000. Jackie and I are meeting with them at their business next Wednesday to go over how we want to do announcements and all that. They're very excited. Also excited about getting Jackie or whoever from the library involved with their employees to get them more connected to the library. So that's been very good. Also, another prospect we had that had a tour here, very interested. They actually hosted an event in this room, a training session a couple weeks ago, and they were, I don't know if it's the first time that they've done it, but it's definitely the first time I contacted it. She's like, oh, this is phenomenal. She's going to take that back to the team and say, another reason why we should give the library because they're doing this. So we've got those good things going. So that's what is happening with the special projects.
Cool.
Fantastic.
If we're able to make it public, who was the donator? Who was the donator?
I'm kind of waiting until.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm just kind of waiting till we talk to them about how exactly would they want us to.
Certainly.
So that'll be next Wednesday.
Certainly, absolutely.
And then I saw something, was it about $20,000?
Yeah, great.
Yes, so outside of the $45,000 donation, we've brought in $20,000 in smaller business donations, over $20,000 now in smaller business donations and private donations from individuals and families. So it's really a great show from the community on how much they love their library and want to invest in it.
That's awesome. All right, and then next is the Finance Committee.
We have not met since the last meeting, so stay tuned. We'll be getting back together here probably in the next month or two.
All right. Next, we have the discuss and consider for approval Policy Review Committee's recommended amendments to Policy 1.01, Bylaws of the Board of Trustees. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Motion and second. Any discussion? If you want to walk through the-
Yeah, so I shared a few emails with the full board, and I know we've talked at the committee level about some of the proposed changes. Really what we're doing is amending the current bylaws to better fit the recommended bylaws from the state of Wisconsin, from the Bureau of Library Services. So I think the biggest change that you really would notice with this is that instead of a secretary treasurer position, we would have a vice president position. That's honestly the most significant change. A lot of the other things are small details, rewording things, calling our July meeting the annual meeting. But otherwise, it does stay very similar. It's just a different format and making sure that we have that backing from the Bureau of Library Services as to what they think bylaws should look like.
Any questions? All right. All in favor of approving amendments to Policy 1.01, Bylaws of the Board of Trustees, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have the Library Board President's Report. So I received, along with Jackie, and I'm sure all of you, this really awesome email about Jackie from the CVMIC virtual training.
What's that stand for?
It stands for Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance Company.
Okay.
Civic.
Right.
Of course. I guess I should have.
So if you guys
How
had
did you not know that, John? Gosh.
he actually said some really nice words, and I thought it was very, very fitting, especially with us doing Jackie's review tonight, to kind of just read the email that he sent. So he said, Jackie Romer recently completed the Fall 2025, Spring 2026 CVMIC Leadership Action Series. I'm writing to let you know that Jackie was a valuable addition and to recognize her accomplishments. This virtual program requires participants to create a capstone project that adds value to your library based on the mix of technical and interpersonal skills covered throughout the 10-week program. In short, this program was designed to be independent and challenging. I'm happy to share that Jackie was actively engaged in the program, shared incredible insights, and completed her capstone project. Jackie's project focused on improving the onboarding process across the library and featured an interactive checklist and useful template. It was impressive enough that many other participants asked her to share the document so they could use it in their municipalities as well. Please join me in commending Jackie's effort and commitment to this program. She was an important leader in this program, and it was a pleasure to work with her. So, I thought that was very, very nice.
Good job, Jackie.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It was a really great program. I recommend it to other people as well.
And
Yeah.
if I can add, with our newest employee, we use that, right?
Yep.
And
The checklist.
the checklist.
Onboarding.
Yeah, and the manager that oversaw that new person said it worked very, very well.
Well, I know that you had come up with like an onboarding checklist for new board members, and it seems to be going pretty well.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. You do some great work in that way, for sure. And then I also wanted to bring your attention to the United for Libraries Virtual 2026. So this year the dates are July 28th through the 30th. And the schedule is going to be Trustee Board Member Day on Tuesday, July 28th, 2026. And then Foundations and Fundraising Day on Wednesday, July 29th. And Friends of the Library Day, Thursday, July 30th, 2026. So just so you guys have that kind of in the back of your heads if you want to attend. It's obviously all virtual, so.
Is that in our digital materials?
I can see if I have the email for that and forward it to
Oh,
you.
yes, it's an email that we should have received. Everybody should get it, the United for Libraries email.
Yeah, good. I just
Okay.
want to make sure, because I don't have it handy.
Yes.
Just the chocolate milk.
That's what it is.
All right,
That's my eyes.
that's all I
Is that a lot
got.
of sugar?
Next is the library director's reports.
Absolutely. So as you can see, our circulation continues to grow. We are already at over 1,000 more materials circulated, and that includes both physical and digital than last year. Our Wi-Fi usage does continue to increase as well. Our visitors are the highest that they've ever been. Compared to 2024, we have over 5,000 more visitors so far this year. And our program participants this year have increased over 1,000 from last year. So just really awesome work that the staff is doing, behind the scenes and forward facing. And we continue to breaking the records here, and it's very exciting to see the momentum, especially the amount of people coming in the library. You can definitely notice the difference. So it's all very wonderful. Coffee shop update with the new revenue formula in the amended coffee shop agreement. Last month, the revenue last month exceeded the average of the previous year's months, so we did receive over $700. So that was very positive. Facilities maintenance plan update. I don't have anything new from the village on this one, but I have been examining some other ways to keep track of building updates and sorting them by priority. So I am working on a spreadsheet for that, just so that we have something that we can look at as we look at the budget in upcoming years. That's all
You'll
I,
start providing that so we can use that to help in that area.
yes, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
And we're still sending faxes.
I was gonna say, and we're sending more faxes. I was trying to get you to notice more faxes.
Don't get after me. I'm gonna use that. My father-in-law has a fax. I'm gonna send him a fax.
Oh, I expect that to be at least one or two higher than.
I think it's
Last year.
I think it's great that we have robust services. I really do. It's an amazing library.
It really is. And all the faxing.
It's great.
All right, next is the Menomonee Falls School District report.
All right.
Can you fax that in, please?
I can. First of all, I want to start with thanks to Jackie for wasn't able to make the last meeting and for summarizing the report that I sent across. I do apologize. I do have a commitment to be here once a month, but sometimes there's conflicts with my committees. With the new board, I've kind of asked them for Wednesdays if they can move committee meetings. That would be great, so that I don't have a conflict. So thank you very much for doing the summary of the report. One of the big things was the election, and I'm going to start this off different than I did at our board meeting. I want to say thank you to Nicole Barker for being in the arena. Fourth highest vote getter, like very close. Very close.
Very.
So very impressive. I'm just honored to anybody who runs for elected office. You're putting yourself out there, and just thank you for that. But also thank you to all the candidates who ran, but specifically Nicole, because she's here She's serving now, and it was just, it's just great to see. So, sorry you didn't win, but we did congratulate him today. I spent half the day working with Becky Derline, Emily Canchlimmy, and Steve Taylor. We certified their election on Monday. There'll be new board members starting in about a week and a half. So we did some onboarding with them. Congratulations to them, and obviously all the candidates. And I put especially here Dr. Wobbert, who will be leaving the board. He's a good guy, good friend. He'll stay very active in the community. Other things that we have done, preliminary budget information, that is now public. We're balanced with the 26-27, which is unlike a lot of public schools, so we're in good shape financially for the 26-27 school year, but it's not without challenges, right? You hear a lot of things at the state level about special education funding. Their state is looking at possibly putting more money, which is unheard of and unprecedented, into the pool of public school money in the middle of a biennium budget. That's just unheard of. They're talking about it. It seems likely, maybe. I mean, the politicians got their hands on it, so who knows? You know, maybe they'll mess it up in Madison. But we're always looking for more special education money that matches what they promise, which they're not doing right now. But in any event, our preliminary budget was presented on Monday night, and we are balanced for the 26-27. There's challenges in the 27-28 and 28-29, but generally speaking, in the short term, we're in good order. But like I said at the board meeting, if nothing changes at the state level in terms of school funding, every school district in the state of Wisconsin will have to go to referendum because there's just not enough money getting put into the pool, right? So, I'm not saying we are or we aren't, but at this point, that's not for me to say. It's more of a global discussion that we had with the board. A lot of state education news articles were shared with the board. A lot of them were about 50 to 60% of the referendums passed. Good portion of them didn't, including my son's district, unfortunately, but it looks like, well, we'll see how that goes. So the new district office is progressing well. We're actually going to open a month early, likely. So June 8th will likely be the opening of the new district office. The village was even nice enough to give us our own new address. We'll be on the backside of Ben Franklin, but we'll have a separate address, which some will see, which will be great. So if you drive by the backside of Ben Franklin, you'll see a bunch of windows and a bunch of things going on back there. That's the new district office getting put in over there, which we reduced in scope by about $1.5 million to help offset some expenses, which puts us in a good spot. So that district office move is actually saving us $2 million over 10 years. We saved about $3 million over 10 years building the community center, actually. But that's all in our financial packets. We've had some school resource officer changes. So that's big in the community. A lot of kids and families get used to certain school resource officers. We have 3 throughout the district. It just happens that we've had 2 retirements out of the 3 of them in the last not retirements. 1 was a retirement and 1 was promoted within the department. But there's 2 officer changes, which is a big deal. You know, now those officers are already working, things are going good. I appreciate the chief of police for making sure that we didn't have a lack of services, a lack of protection in all of our buildings. Unfortunately, we have to be thinking about that first in today's day and age, and we do. We were involved in a program called Project Adam. Project Adam is a program where we buy defibrillators at reduced costs from a certain company, and essentially some of our students have an opportunity to have to go through heart testing if their family approves, of course. So it's always a great thing. It's called Project Adam, and it's a thing that moves. It's an aspect of school safety for individual student health. A lot of times you talk about defibrillators with adults and things like that, but sometimes making sure that we're addressing our students as well. Parents might not be aware of that like 1 in 40 students sometimes have some sort of unknown issue like that. It's a program that we're working on as being a heart-safe school district. So we're going school by school with it. The middle and high school completed it last year. We have several elementaries working on it this year, getting us to being a heart-safe district. Couple of other things, high school musical. For those that love musicals, we still have a run of The Lightning Thief on April 17th, 18th, 7 o'clock, and then also April 19th at 2 o'clock. So any questions about that, it's all on the website, it's easy to find. That's The Lightning Thief. If you love musicals, it's a great performance, so feel free to get out. Fall Summer Academy, there's still room to sign up, that's all on the website. So that's not just summer school, it's a lot of different programs through the community ed and rec. So that program went live last Sunday. We have a lot of people that have put in right away, right at Sunday at 9 o'clock, I've been told, but there is still space for the summer piece. Summer programming through community ed and rec, including but not limited to summer school. Last thing, we had another blood drive at the high school. I believe it was over 100 pints. So I'm a regular, I get blood on a regular basis in the school environment. We have a healthcare academy in our high school where students are pre-CNA or maybe going to medical school in their future. So we work on academies. They have students out there. It's wonderful. It's packed. The grade gym was packed. So it was a lot of fun to see so many kids. You have to be old enough, and parents do all this sign. You got to be old enough to give blood. So it's great to see all the students giving blood. It's always good for someone who's given blood as much as I have to go to the students and say, is it your first time? Yes, Mr. Munoz. It's all good. You'll be fine. Don't look at the needle. Give them some tips, and have them get through everything really well. So it's a wonderful thing they do through our healthcare academy at the high school. They use both the American Red Cross, but this one was through Versiti, which is a different company that does the same. I was talking to a student there. They always have students to kind of make sure that you don't faint or anything else like that. He goes, Mr. Moyer, you seem to be doing fine. I'm like, yeah, I do this a lot. And he says, I want to go into the Army. And I think, oh, that's great. My son is in the Army. And he goes, I want to go to Whitewater. And I said, actually, my son went to Whitewater. He says, I want to do ROTC. And that's exactly what my son just did. And he goes, I showed him pictures of everything. It's hard to believe, right? So it was really great to have that interaction with the students. So it's just a wonderful event. Just wanted to bring that up for context. Aside from that, hopefully everybody's doing okay with the weather. Just want to give a shout out to our friend Chris over there, who's always dialed in. Falls Cable Access. They're now full-time helping the school district of Menomonee Falls with all of our school board services. So really appreciate that, Chris. I know he's behind the scenes and he doesn't want to be brought up, but he does an outstanding job, not just for us, but also for the school district of Menomonee Falls.
It's because he's not in the screen guild.
Thank you.
That's why.
I don't even know what that means, John.
In order to be in front of the camera, you got to be in the Screenwriters Guild or something.
I didn't
the
know that.
Actors Guild or something.
I don't think that's true, is it? Is it?
For people on TV, national TV.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's all I have.
All right. Next is the Menomonee Falls Public Library Friends Reports.
Yeah, a couple things on the Friends. Friends is sponsoring 2 puzzle tables, which actually
Yeah.
not truly a table, but more think of it as a lazy Susan to work on a table. And thanks to the sweeper last time, if they make a mess, they can sweep it up with the sweeper they gave before. The Friends approved guidelines for their give back programs. So it's not hard, fast rules, but just what kind of companies are we looking for to work with? Who would we pursue? So that's nice. They have some guidelines around that. It looks like June we'll be having a big give back at 3 cellars. So that is in the works. Next week is National Library Week, and Friends will be providing cake for the staff here at the library.
What about for board members?
If you come in, you might be able to sneak a piece.
I was joking. Just joking.
John's bringing it
What
next
time
week.
is that?
I will bring cake to the next board meeting as promised.
And we did have the art show guy
That's on the
canceled.
record.
Art show got
Just
canceled
saying.
last night due to the.
Yeah. Is
I
that rescheduled or just no? You can't?
I am sorry about that, but it appears that it was a good call.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I do apologize for that cancellation, but there was also a concert at Riverside as well. So I do apologize for that, but I was sitting there waiting at home going, well, is it a good call? Is it not a good call? You always wonder that when you're doing that sort of thing. So
You
it's
can't apologize for prioritizing safety.
yeah, absolutely, but you never know. You never know.
All right, then we are now going to be going into closed session under Wisconsin statute 19.851C with the library director and library board for the purposes of a performance review and goal setting for the library director. I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right.
2, 1.
All right, we are back into open session. I need a motion to approve Director Romer's rate of pay increase by 1 step of Menomonee Falls wage grid effective 6/28/26.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? All in favor of approving step increase for Director Romer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Our next meeting is Wednesday, May 20th at 6 o'clock, and we are adjourned.